Good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. Well, we did, signpost the Southern Governors Forum yesterday, and so today we'll be looking at it. It has come, it has gone, there's been a communique, and there are a number of very interesting points that the Southern governors insisted on. My guest this morning is Olukayode Salako. Mr. Salako is a rights activist, social commentator, and it is the national coordinator of Change Nigeria Network Movement. He's also a member of Nigeria for Truth Advocacy. Thank you very much for coming on, Kadi.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Indeed.
As usual.
It's great to have you again.
Thank you very much.
Let's start off refreshing your memories. We have a package put together by, our man.
2 months after the Southern governors met in Asaba, Delta State, Lagos is the forum's next venue. The Asaba conference generated uproar and the polity even pushing the presidency to react to their communique. 12 governors and the 3 deputy governors arrived at the Center of Excellence to deliberate on how far their last meeting has made impact, but 2 governors didn't make it to the meeting. The focus remained security, state police, political inclusion, petroleum, industry bill and election process. 3 hours after the closed-door meeting, coordinator of the forum, Governor of Ondo State, read the communique. One of the resolutions was the rotation of presidency between the North and the South, and the next president in 2023 must come from the Southern region.
The forum reiterates its commitment to the policies of equity, fairness, and unanimously agreed that the presidency of Nigeria be rotated between Southern and Northern Nigeria, and resolve that the next president of Nigeria will emerge from the South.
The governors also set 1st of September 2021 as a deadline for the promulgation of anti-open grazing law among all states in the region.
The forum set a timeline of Wednesday, the 1st of September 2021 for the promulgation of the anti-grazing law in all its member states. Anti-open grazing law.
The Southern Governors Forum also discussed security and agreed that security agencies carrying out any operation must inform the Chief Security Officer of the state, which is the governor. They also washed their hands of any selective criminal administration of justice. On the PIB bill, the forum also rejected the 3% for the host communities and supported 5% share of oil profit proposed by the House of Representatives. Also, the Southern governors rejected proposed 30% share of profit exploration of oil and gas basins and ownership structure of the Nigerian Petroleum Commission Limited. On election matters, the Southern Governors Forum rejected the removal of electronic transmission results in the Electoral Act and also rejected the exclusive jurisdiction of pre-election matters on the Federal High Court. As the forum ends, they agreed and chose Lagos State as its permanent secretariat. Ademola Lawrence, TVC News, Lagos.
And our thanks to Ademola Lawrence there. So, quite a number of important points that the governors touch on, not least of all, perhaps, is that they've decided that the headquarters of the Southern Governors Forum shall now henceforth be Lagos State.
Exactly.
Yeah, but onto other things, big ones. They're commenting on where the next president should come from. Right now it's in the north, it goes without saying, and they say, look, it has to come to the south. Let's just take them one by one. When you look at that one, it's important. Weren't we already headed in that direction? I mean, there's a gentleman's agreement in the ruling party, but that they thought it bore re-mentioning. Give me your thoughts.
Well, thank you. You see, for the fact that the governors of the southern part of Nigeria are now coming together regardless of their political divide and affiliations to now start forming associations like a pressure group. But under normal circumstances, the governors are not supposed to be involved in such kind of, the formation of pressure group-like kind of associations. It simply shows that what some Nigerians see that are making them to be agitating for different things, about the country, is probably what the governors too might have seen. And if they decide to be talking individually or acting individually, it might not achieve the kind of results or create the kind of impact they wanted to create. And that is why you see all of this happening. Governors, are now forming pressure groups to make demands, to also ask for their rights, in quotes. Well, you have asked me if a call by the governors for power to shift to the south in 2023 is a step in the right direction. I would say yes. There must have been a reason for that.
Yeah.
The governors can't just gather themselves together under one associational umbrella to say, we are demanding for power to come back to the south. Possibly, they must have had information or be in charge of certain information that might be suggesting that maybe power wants to continue to stay in the north. Maybe not. Or maybe not. But for them to have come out,
they wanted to be clear
to make it a subject of necessity.
Yes.
Inside their communique, to make it an item, an important item inside their communique, simply shows that there is a concern of worry somewhere about it. Well, constitutionally, there is no way it is stated where power should be rotated in Nigeria. It is always a gentlemanly agreement within the parties, political parties, to balance things, to give impression for equity, fairness, and justice, that the content of the communique of the southern governors of yesterday has emphasized.
Yeah.
There is emphasis on that. So which means...
So I would have said it's not about giving the impression, but actually being equitable, fair, and just.
If Nigeria had been a country that has been running on that premise of justice, fairness, and equity, the governors will come out, their associations will come out to say, we are demanding for it. That is the way it must be. So definitely, they also feel the way many Nigerians feel about the fact that Nigeria has not been running or now needs to be running on that premise of justice, equity, and fairness. Because if not so, the communique of the southern governors of yesterday would not
have
emphasize on it.
So I need to mention it again.
In the spirit of that equity, justice, and fairness is what the southern governors are now calling. That power has been operating, has been living in the northern part of the country for about 8 years now. 8 years in a region of the country. The best thing, the honorable thing is for the North to allow the South also to run it for the next 8 years, so that it could always give the impression of 8 years in the North, or 4 years in the North, then 8 years in the South, and 4 years in the South. If it could run on that premise,
depending on the electorate,
then the equity, justice, and fairness the governors are talking about would have been,
I hear you,
established.
And just to be academic about
so
it,
they just want the feeling that if power can stay in the North for 8 years, it is not bad. The normal thing, what is good about it for our country, for the spirit of unity and oneness we are preaching, understanding, peaceful and equitable cohabitation that we are preaching, for power to also come back to the South and also reside for the next 8 years, so that it will be 8 years in the North, 8 years in the South, and I think that would also help to douse or calm frayed nerves now, or the agitations across the country.
Now, also, I think of note, worthy of note, is the doubling down on, they're saying no to open grazing. In fact, they've now said, look, every member state in the Southern Governors Forum has to have an anti-open grazing law by September the 1st. Now, that's doubling down there, because we know what the Attorney General has been saying. Indeed, we know what presidential spokesmen have been saying. Since there are two of them, and it was Garbache who spoke. But quite frankly, they're not for it. One even went as far, one presidential spokesperson went as far as saying that they were not, necessarily constitutional, those kind of utterances. But the governors are doubling down. That's another important point. How do you see that? Because really, it looks like the governors are, I don't know whether that was their intention or not, are pushing for proper federalism, where the federating units have to know what's going on, have to be in charge of their affairs.
You see, let me tell you this, my brother.
Could you just hold your gunpowder, please? I understand we have a break now, commercial break. We'll be right back. Stay with us, please. Okay, welcome back, and we're looking at the Southern Governors Forum that held yesterday. An communique was issued. A number of far-reaching decisions have been sort of agreed to, and we were looking at, just before we went on break, the forum directing all member states, that is states in the South, to promulgate an anti-open grazing law by September 1. Now, in terms of a roadmap, that's very, very clear. That's it. Guys, you have to have this law in place.
Well, the cattle business in Nigeria or any part of the world has not been lawfully described as the business or the personal business of the government of the society. It's not a government business. It is a private business, which it is normal to be subjected. Its operations, the way it operates, in a country that has laws, to be properly regulated, especially when it is becoming antithetic to the survivor of the society, when it is creating problems. Before 1960, even before Nigeria became an independent country, this issue of a section of the country moving cattle about to graze on people's farms, invading people's villages, and destroying their crops and causing conflicts, which has led to thousands of deaths, shouldn't be an issue the country should just be finding solutions to now. The solution ought to have come long way before now. But our country, being a peculiar society, be it as it may, things have always been like that with us. It is always difficult to find simple solutions even to simple problems, not to talk of difficult problems. Nigeria is the only country where I have seen that to find a solution to a simple problem can take about 40-50 years. Look at some of the bills we have in the National Assembly.
Yeah.
Some of them have been there for over 20 years, so 15 years.
Where people talk of the political will to deal with these kind of problems, you know, maybe you want to look at that, but let me bring on Mazi Okorafor, who has called in from Arochukwu. Good morning, Mazi. Mazi Okorafor. Mazi, there's a technical glitch at the moment.
You see, let's call a spade what it is. The question I want to ask Nigerians this morning is, what really is the problem with Nigeria? What is the fundamental problem with Nigeria? What is the issue with us? And I'm going to articulate it this way, that there are two major regions in Nigeria: the northern part of Nigeria and the southern part of Nigeria. Now,
when things are described that way, people in minority always say, you see now, they've divided it into two.
No.
Where does that leave us?
That is the way the country has been divided. The country has been divided into different segments, fragments.
No, I was just saying that those in the so-called minorities tend to feel left out. So
this is not about talking about tribes. I'm not talking about tribes or ethnic groups now. I'm talking about the two main divisions of the country.
Even in participation in the affairs of the country.
No, what I'm saying is this. If we want to start dividing Nigeria now, we'll say Nigeria as a country. Nigeria comprises the north and the south. Then in the north, we have three regions. Nigeria has divided the three regions.
Okay.
The southern part of the three regions. So making 6 regions now.
I get you. So for convenience.
Now.
For convenience.
For convenience,
okay.
Yeah. The country today is being divided into the north and the south. Okay. What I see is that so many problems of Nigeria that brilliant solutions have been articulated to. The problems of Nigeria have solutions. A lot of solutions have been articulated for the country to have solutions to our problems, to be able to come out of our problems. But to me, it seems the two regions have not been running at compatible terms when it comes to agreeing for those solutions to be articulated. When the South says we are ready for these solutions to be implemented, the North will say no. When the North says we are ready for these solutions to be implemented, the South will say no. So the problem has always been about either the North or the southern part of Nigeria agreeing that many of the solutions that we know that will bring peace, sanity, true progress, and one unity of purpose to the ideal survival of Nigeria have refused to be implemented.
Okay,
because the two regions have always been at disparity when it comes to agreeing for those solutions to be implemented.
I wonder, well, I hope you're not going as far as saying that the two regions seem to be incompatible, but I'll come to that because right now we have, is it Joel? Oh, you think so? Joel from Mushin, good morning. Joel? Now, is there really a problem or it's something else? Joel, there's dead silence here. Joel. Same thing with Mazi Okorafor. Dead silence. Now Joel. Same thing. We sure there's not a... hello, Joel. Well, for the moment, there seems to be an issue with the phones, but please keep on trying. We felt that the first was just a coincidence, but now with this other one coming in and there's equal dead silence when we want to speak with the guest, we'll be fiddling at it and try and see what exactly is going in. But that's the second call that's come in that hasn't been able to speak. Please keep on calling so that you can help us troubleshoot the issue if indeed there is one. Yes, so
the problems of Nigeria have solutions. Those solutions are on paper.
You could also say that this communique is a form of proffering solutions to areas
to
of
me, it's
tension.
all about talking. You see, the southern part of Nigeria is good at meeting, talking, and issuing communiques. Why the northern part of Nigeria is better at meeting and acting out whatever they agree or decide to do. The south is good at talking, the north is good at acting. And in most cases, when we want to prefer solutions to the problem of a peculiar society like Nigeria, the most important thing is for that necessary agreement to always be given the chance to govern.
I hear you. I hear your opinion.
Restructuring?
Yeah,
the North has not agreed that the country should be restructured. Through federalism, the North has refused to agree. Recently, Mr. President said, I am a die-hard Buhari, you all know that. But recently, Mr. President said, there is nothing to restructure. That statement, that one sentence statement alone, could continue to breed the kind of the of this world.
It is, now that you mentioned that, that's another point of contention about how the state goes about its business and what part of it is, for the central government and what part of it is for the states. Because, okay, you mentioned the Igbo name, so let me just, intentionally be distracted to that, even though its time wasn't now. Look, people have been making. Now, the governors never mentioned that whole incident. I think it was the Sunday, onslaught on the house of Sunday Adeyemo, aka, Sunday Igboho. People, they didn't mention that incident by name, but they said that they are against selective application of criminal justice or whatever. How is it, some have been asking since then, that the federal government feels there is a need to mount a major operation, in fact, a deadly operation, and the governor doesn't know anything about it? The governor is hearing it, is catching it on social media, whatever, internet, that kind of a thing. So these are the kind of things that require to be addressed, and I think they have done so. It now remains to be heard how they are going to react to it. Unless people are going to say, because you keep on calling the governors the chief security officer of his region, that we have our issues with our governors on that. But can you mount a major offensive of this type in any state and the governor is, quote unquote, one of the last to know?
And that is why I told you that the governors themselves have now realized that they are probably just made to be seen as the authority in charge of their individual states, but not to be heard.
But that's why they're speaking out about it now.
Now, they are speaking out simply because they know that the positions of authority, the states, each of them are supposed to be in charge of, they are probably not, in the real sense of it, not in charge. That is why they are forming pressure groups. If not, why should governors now be forming splinter pressure groups, associations? Because in Nigeria as it is, as I speak, we now have the Nigerian Governors Forum. That is one association. We have the Northern Governors Forum. We have the Southern Governors Forum. We have the Southwest. We have the Northeast. Different splinter groups. among the governors. Why should there be a necessity for this? If the governors themselves feel that they are in the position of relevance and authority they are supposed to be in their own country. Coming back to the issue of Sunday Igboho, yes, Sunday Igboho might have been excessive in his in the way he has been carrying on with his secessionist agitational activities. But if let me say there are better ways of handling Sunday Igboho's issue than the way it was handled by the federal government of Nigeria. Let's call a spade what it is. For the governors to have come out to issue this statement talking about selective justice,
selective application of criminal
selective application of justice, and don't forget that former Senator Shehu Sani once said,
well, once a senator, always a senator.
Senator Shehu Sani once said, sorry, and I quote, he said in Nigeria that the federal government of Nigeria uses deodorant to undo some criminals in a part of the country, but in another part of the country it is insecticides the federal government uses. And this is what is a common knowledge to all of us. The manner in which justice, application of criminal justice is being carried out in Nigeria calls for questioning, worry sometimes.
Well, yeah,
and that is why the governors will come out,
yes,
to issue this type of statement
and include it. But yeah. That happened this time, and there still are a lot of questions being asked. Among them, did the DSS need a warrant? I mean, because we are a democracy, we are, we operate under the rule of law. So there are those who are asking, say, don't think it's unnecessary. It's necessarily academic. Did the DSS need a warrant to do what they did?
What does the law say?
They sorted out a problem. Well, from their point of view, they sorted out a problem. Exactly.
What does the law say about it?
Well, I think as far as the laws goes, unfortunately, we don't have a lawyer in the house.
Yeah.
We don't have a lawyer in the house.
This country
yes,
is running under...
Yes, you do need a warrant for that kind of operation if we know more than just look around what's going on around the world.
And why should it be in the night?
So
why in the night?
Yes. And even if we're not talking about a warrant, the point that we were making earlier, should the governor, the chief security officer, so-called, not know that the army was about to mount
into his state and carry out such kind of an operation?
Yes.
The governor of the state should know and should even be involved in the operational coordination of such kind of an operation in a country where the constitution is running the way it is supposed to run. I am not a Sunday Igboho person per se, because to me, I see him as a man that has not applied enough wisdom, ethical wisdom in the way he has been operating. And the Bible says, man perishes for lack of knowledge. My people perish
for lack of knowledge.
For lack of knowledge. Sunday Igboho might be fighting a cause that a lot of people have sentimental attachment with. Of course, if I was Sunday Igboho, I would also be happy if I have a power somewhere that I can always use to defend my people, to save my people from the incessant onslaught of people coming to their farms and villages to kill them.
Yeah, but it needs to also it needs to also be said that there are a lot of people who are not necessarily also in support of what Sunday Igboho
so he should have been sensitive enough to apply wisdom.
Okay, let's take another break.
But he has not been a man of wisdom.
These things. Okay, let's take another break. We'll be right back. Please hold your thoughts. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, and we're looking at, shall we say, the Southern Governors Conference yesterday, and we were speaking about, for instance, this whole point, the principle of federalism. Should the center be able to just march with, jackboots into any state and conduct a major security operation? In fact, in this case, it was deadly in some aspects.
No, it shouldn't be so.
Now, this is without prejudice to the fact that, yes, it happened in relation to Sunday Adeyemo, and no doubt for reasons the federal authorities, thought, were, pressing. But the point is, whatever the issue and wherever it is this how it should be? That whether it is Bauchi, whether it is Ekiti, whether it is Anambra, the federal authorities can march in without without a warrant, for example. Yes, it is the DSS. We hear that the DSS, well, you see, these are security people, they have a different rule book and all of that. But I don't know. Even the FBI in the U.S. They get warrants. So you ask the question, what does the law say? Well, I have heard a senior advocate of Nigeria say definitely every person, individual or corporate, requires a warrant to do something.
You can't just invade people's, places of abode, houses. And you start killing anybody you see there. Whether they are involved, whether those people are involved in the criminal activities.
They were there to apprehend someone who they thought was a threat to the state.
Yeah.
That is how I think the federal authorities were looking at it.
So the
question we're asking is that the governor didn't know anything about it.
And that is why the governors are forming pressure groups. If all is well, why should governors be forming pressure groups in their own collective government? So the governors have been forming pressure groups simply because they themselves feel maybe they have not been carried along in the scheme of things the way it's supposed to be, or the way the country has been running has not been giving them that sense of authority over their state that they are supposed to exercise as governors. So for them to be forming pressure groups and issuing communique on incessant at incessant periods simply shows that something is wrong somewhere between the governors and the presidency, or between the presidency and the governor. There is a communication breach. There is a communication issue somewhere. Because the governors are not supposed to be forming pressure groups.
I think
that issue communicates to be demanding for their rights.
I think you might be right that there's a group, there's a communication lapse somewhere, because just about every time we see, in short, what I wanted to say is that Mr. President always says that his administration, he himself, strives to always operate under the law, to operate, in a democratic way and under the law. So that's why I agree with you that there must be a communication gap somewhere, because some of these things that are happening are not, very...
There may be communication and agreement issues.
Okay.
Because I can communicate with you and you refuse to agree with me.
Okay.
And so I decided to form the pressure group to go and communicate it to the public.
All right. Well, I'm happy to say that it was with trepidation that withheld my announcement of the fact that Emeka Madunagu is also, scheduled to be on this program, and thank God you made it. Very, very sorry. I know the traffic outside is hell. Former editor, Sunday Punch and the Telegraph newspaper, and a public commentator now. Thank you very much for making it here, as it were. Now, we're talking about this whole, the Southern governors, and your thoughts on it, because we're sort of looking at it, bringing it to the point of view of, for the point of federalism.
Yes.
For example, we didn't want to dwell too much on the issue, but the biggest sort of, example is the Nigerian Army operation. The Nigerian Army operation on Sunday at, the house of Sunday Adeyemo, without prejudice to the fact of whatever the issues were between government and some people. Should they have been able to do that, and the governor did not know that such an operation was coming down. They did not make any mention of a warrant when they, spoke, and when they paraded those that they paraded. So we're just looking at how federal are we really? Do we want to play by the rules or not? Do you have any thoughts on this whole issue?
Yeah. You see, I was so happy yesterday, when I saw the communique of the governors. It's just, I commended Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. When he was governor of Lagos State, he was one of the people who pushed this meeting of governors. They met in Lagos, if you remember, at Akodo. They met in Benin. They met in Enugu. And then, thereafter, they were meeting. But Tinubu at that time kept talking about fiscal federalism, federating units, ensuring the federating units are working. But unfortunately, politics swallowed everything, and then the governors stopped meeting. But in essence, what the governors were looking for at that time was to make sure that the state governors were really chief security officers, not just in name, but in practice. So if they're chief security officers, what it means is that there will be collaboration. If you look at it today, what governors have spent on security agencies, particularly the police, the federal government cannot match it. Since 1999, the state governors have spent so much providing vehicles, equipment, all kinds of things. So now, how can they provide to all arms of government? I was discussing with somebody involved in one of the security trust funds, and he said they always scrutinize that they got requests from different places, for assistance. Now, when they put all this money and all these things, and then you use these operational vehicles to do things in their states without working with them, without collaborating with them. Now, what are you doing? How do you expect these governors to actually help, to ensure that governance is seamless? If you go on an operation like that, you're supposed to put the chief security officer of the state in the know. Now, it's not saying, because some people have been trying to twist it, that the governors now expect security agencies to take permission from them. No, they are saying, let's know. Collaborate with us. We should chief security officers in practice. Yeah. No. And then we should now really be practicing federalism.
Well, yeah, thank you very much, Emeka. But again, we can only look at, we didn't invent this whole democracy thing, quite frankly. We're seeing it as best practices anywhere in the world, and we're following it. Yes. You hear in the U.S. where the president of the U.S. is saying of a state that they are waiting to be invited in.
Yes.
They are waiting to be invited.
You even saw what happened recently concerning voting. Yes. That was defeated. Exactly. That was defeated in Congress because the states opposed it. The states said we should lead on an issue like this. It shouldn't be top down. It should be from bottom up.
So you see, these are the parts that might be concerning some people. That we know the government, the federal government, has the best intentions, as at least going by what Mr. President states to us. But then when you see what's coming, what's going down, then you begin to be a bit confused. Say, as was said by Kawade, there seems to have been a communication lag somewhere.
No. With due respect, I would disagree with that. You see, democracy is about interest. I've said it a number of times. It's about interest, and you can't expect all interests to be put on the table at the same time. These things evolve as time goes on. You see, certain developments might make certain interests to become imperative. That we begin to fight for them at this time. Now, it is not rocket science that in a federation, a country practicing federalism, that the federating units should play their roles. Now, President Buhari has been pushing from the day he came in for local governments to be autonomous. So, because
that's the
yes, he's been pushing, and that's part of the restructuring we're talking about. He's been pushing for local government to be autonomous.
Yeah, but sometimes his Attorney General wades into the matter and says something that is not exactly helpful.
It's all about interest. Go this way. But you see, politics politics, like the late Wazir Ibrahim said, should be played without bitterness.
Politics without bitterness.
It should be about interest, contending interest. You know, you fought for me this way, I fought for you this way. But at the end of the day, you see, we have to put the interest of the citizenry as being paramount.
Let me stay with you because, you know, you have some catching up to do, and I'm sure that Kayode will understand. So let me just stay with you on this whole point. This removal of the electronic transmission, you know, of results from the Electoral Act. What, there are those who are wondering, what's that all about? So it's just as well that the governors have, you know, come in and spoken up against it and maybe even highlighted the issue to those who were not aware that it was embedded in there.
No, I think, well, if I will agree with my colleague, you know, on the issue of communication gap, then it must be between the governors and their representatives in the National Assembly. Because you see, their reps were there. This, I mean, the Electoral Act was, you know, the amended version was passed by the 8th Assembly, but it was not signed by President Muhammadu Buhari. Now, the 9th Assembly has picked it up and looked at certain areas. One contentious area is the issue of transmission of results. But you see, in saying that there won't be electronic transmission of results, the lawmakers are doing a big disservice to Nigerians. Because, you see, if you look back around, was it 2000 or 2002, when the National Assembly, this same issue came up around ICPC, and National Assembly tried to frustrate the function of ICPC. The media rose, the citizenry rose, civil society, you know, NGOs rose and said no. And you see, that's why ICPC came into being. So we must say no. Results must be transmitted electronically from the polling units, from the collation centers. Now, they're not being transmitted to me or you. They are being transmitted to INEC. So it's only to ensure a seamless process.
Exactly. And Kayode, this is where maybe would you like to weigh in on that particular point? You know, I have heard it described as, why are you going back to the Stone Age? We are in the digital age. We can take advantage of all of these, what in Yoruba they refer to as Ayarabiasha, before anybody will have any opportunity to put their hand in there.
Well, I put it this way. If you are benefiting from a system, or if you are the most beneficiary of in a system,
the biggest beneficiary of a system,
the biggest beneficiary in a system,
yes,
it will always be difficult for you, one, to see anything wrong about that system, or to want to effect changes that will make you to lose your relevance in that system, or not to want to be able to gain further benefits from that system in the future. You see, I said something when I was making my presentation earlier, that the problems of Nigeria have solutions.
Of course.
Brilliant solutions, realistic solutions have been articulated. The problem has always been who to implement them, how, when, and where. Yeah. And that is the issue of our elected public, you know, officers come to play. Because many of them got to where they are, to that position of public office. From the system, we are advocating that should be destroyed or should be changed. So they might not really want to, from their body languages,
yes,
want to allow it to work. Because the system that got them into where they are is what you are saying they should change. So the issue is this: until we accept or we agree to let ideal solutions govern the way we run our system in Nigeria, this is the way we continue to talk.
Okay, one moment, please.
This is the way Nigeria will continue to be.
Yeah,
and nothing better.
One moment. Good morning, Mr. Good morning, Mr. George. Let's try.
Good morning, Uncle.
Oh, third time lucky. Good morning, sir. Please go ahead quickly.
All right. 3 issues. The if I can go through them, quickly.
Sure.
State police, as much as I support the governor's move, they should go beyond that and take it up with the National Assembly. After all, there are senators and House of Reps that come from their state. Press them to make it become a law. And if they refuse, they should go to the Supreme Court for clarification. Let us test our judicial system. That the state police, that governors should man or take charge of the police in their system. But it should not just be flat. My suggestion on that is that it should be subject to the IGR of that state, because there are some of the states that may not be able to fund it. And then for, I think the presidency is misunderstanding the restructuring demands. There is this impression that people want to disintegrate the country. Restructuring doesn't mean that we will no longer be one country. Certain changes, financial authority, the derivation policy, those are the things that people are asking to be reviewed. Not that we will no longer become one country or certain sections will go their own way. That is not the impression. But that is, to me, that is the fear that the presidency is having, that they don't seem to be supporting restructuring. We have no choice but to develop. And to develop, you must have a platform that is workable. That's the way I see that. Yes. So, no fear about restructuring. Let us discuss it, the modalities and the features, and agree on it.
All right.
Rather than avoiding it as if it is impossible.
Okay. Interesting point that Mr. George makes there. Avoiding some difficult issues instead of confronting them in a timely manner. And so we keep on kicking the ball down the road, so to speak. This is not really, helping us get to where we want to be in a timely manner.
Yeah, of course.
But it's
of course, we need to ask the National Assembly to think more in the interest of Nigerians. Think less about themselves and think more about Nigerians, because some of the things they are fixated upon are really not in the interest of Nigerians, as if they are living on another planet. So when you talk about this issue of electronic transmission of results, what do Nigerians want? You are representing us. You are not representing yourselves. Why would you want to do something which throws us back to the past and which will cost more money? Should we keep wasting money on elections? We see other countries, they hold elections even on working days. People just some people, they even hold they use mail-in ballots. They use all kinds different means to reduce the spending on elections. Now you bring it, you raise the campaign limit, you raised campaign financing limit for what? In an economy that is struggling to breathe.
So it's just as well that the governors are bringing these matters up.
Yes.
Mr. Ola in Port Harcourt, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please, quickly now. You're our last caller.
All right. I just want to quickly speak on the issue of whether the federal government can invade, whether the security agencies can invade a state without letting the governor know.
Invasion, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So my quick take on that is in two places. Number one, I feel they should be able to do that in certain instances where it is a matter of state security.
Sure. Okay.
That is, because there are instances where the information they have, they can't even
share it.
Share it, exactly.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
I appreciate your call in, especially on this subject, that we're hearing this from you. Even though I don't think there's any prejudice, because a senior advocate of Nigeria, the gentleman didn't identify himself professionally, whether he is indeed a senior advocate. So I take what he's saying, but a senior advocate has said that ordinarily you do need a warrant. But maybe this is not one of those ordinary instances, just as
No, you
other
can. There cannot be extraordinary instances beyond the law. The law is the law. The constitution.
The law is the law.
You cannot put nothing on nothing.
Because
It's a basic legal principle.
I said it that
You can't put nothing on nothing.
The FBI have been known to be asking for permission.
Anybody can invade your house in the night.
No, how can
And
you?
so because
How
they
you going to
suspect,
justify it?
We
How
really
you going to justify it?
I know. Gentlemen, we really got to go now, but I want to thank you very much for coming on. Olukayode Salako and Emeka Madnagu.
Yes,
thank you very much, gentlemen,
Thank
for
you very
coming
much.
on
Thank
and
you,
helping
viewers.
us out on this matter. So that's our program today. Join us tomorrow, please, for a fresh edition. I'm Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.
It.